Well, I am so honored to be here today, be asked to help with this celebration of the lives this morning of this entire group of people who are being recognized for their contributions to our county. I see a lot of faces in here that I know have shaped my life and through the good Lord have directed my path. And I'm so happy to be a part of it because this is a special place that we call home. And forgive me, I'm a little hoarse today as well. The lasting legacy of Mr. Pierre and Mrs. Jessie Blouck is a deep one in this county. Every day I get to enjoy that legacy as the director of the Washington County Public Library, where Miss Jessie spent many years bettering our community. I didn't have the pleasure of knowing about the Bloucks personally because they passed when I was very young, but I've heard lots of stories through my mom and my aunt, who were good friends of Miss Martha Blouck, their daughter, who's here today with her son Matthew and her daughter Jessie. So we're very happy to have them return home and help us in honoring her parents. I'll read you about their bios, which are incredibly impressive and extensive, and I know that Dr. Petcher is going to have some wonderful personal stories to tell, so I'm so thankful that he's here today to share with us some anecdotes and special memories with us about the Bloucks. But Mr. Pierre Blouck was a graduate of Massachusetts Institute of Technology in architectural engineering. He worked for the U.S. Department of Urban Planning in Washington, D.C. as an architect of low-cost housing. He also worked as a freelance architect for an engineering firm in Chicago, Illinois. He was the architect for many buildings in and around Chicago and was architect of the Blouck House here in Chatham, now being used as an art gallery by the Wilcox Foundation. And if you haven't had an opportunity to visit the Wilcox Gallery, it is a beautiful space. I remember visiting when Miss Lou Shell lived there, and the home is just so welcoming and inviting, and it's a space that you can tell was used for lots of entertaining as they hosted many parties and social events in Chatham. And I've always appreciated my background is in interior design, and I always thought that it was so unique and so special. And Mr. Blouck helped conceive the concept of the great room while living in Chatham, the concept that sort of blends your living room and your dining room into a space where you can just enjoy family gatherings. And I've been in lots of houses since then that I feel like were influenced by that architectural influence, so I really appreciate that. This concept was expanded into new construction in Washington County and beyond, and although he did not see active service in Europe, Mr. Blouck served as first lieutenant during World War I. He trained as a bomber in what later became the Army Air Forces. Mr. Blouck was a member of the Farm Bureau Association, active in the Kiwanis Club, and a census taker for Washington County. He was an active member of the Cattlemen's Association for Washington County and arranged speakers from his wide variety of professional and business friends. In Chicago, he was a board member and later president of the Children's School, a co-founder of the Triangle Association, and the president of the Menominee Boys Club. Throughout Mr. Blouck's life, he had been a successful investor in the stock market, which placed the Bloucks in a position to offer their services and time to the community. During the Bloucks' time in Chatham, oil companies were testing for possible oil discoveries in our area, and with Mr. Bloucks' extensive business and successful stock investment experiences, his guidance was sought by many local property owners for advice. Excerpts from the letter of reference written by their son-in-law Jim Gallagher states that Pierre was the perfect host of all of the events that were held at the Blouck House over the years. He had a dry wit but a very kind heart, and while his personal achievements may not be as visible and numerous as his wife's, he was nevertheless a tireless and active worker and was always on hand to assist when called upon. In my opinion, a lot of the success that Jessie achieved was only made possible by the ever-present support of her husband. Miss Jessie Blouck obtained a 2-year degree in business and attended the University of Minnesota. She earned her library science degree from the University of South Alabama, Jackson. Mrs. Blount worked as a secretary at the United States Department of Urban Planning in Washington, D.C., where she met Pierre. She co-founded the Inurbia Tour of Chicago and was president of the Triangle Association. After moving to Chatham, she worked as librarian for the Chatham Elementary School. Mrs. Blount was a volunteer librarian at the Washington County Public Library for many years without a college degree. When she was 62 years old, it's never too late, she received a Bachelor of Arts degree in Library Science from the University of South Alabama. After she got her degree, she became the librarian at the Washington County Public Library and started a bookmobile to serve people in the community who could not travel to the library to get books. Mrs. Blount dedicated herself to inspire others to achieve their goals and dreams. She brought in speakers and storytellers and arranged for residential artist programs, and she hosted many foreign exchange students when she lived in Chatham. And to continue the legacy of the bookmobile, in recent weeks, the library has applied for more than $200,000 in grants to continue the bookmobile program by updating it and including a new collection and also technology updates and mobile classroom space for training the public on workforce development, career readiness, and also just delivering important resources and materials out into the community. So we're really, really thankful that we're able to continue the work that she started. Mrs. Blount was very active in the Chatham community and volunteered at all the local schools. She started a summer reading program each year with a different theme to encourage students to continue to grow and explore and develop a love of learning. She also organized various programs at the library, including Christmas with Santa and Puppeteers. She coordinated the reading program with the Chatham Elementary School and baked cookies each year at Christmas for grade school students to decorate. Okay, I guess I'm going to have to go bake some cookies now. I haven't done that yet, but we did bake some yesterday for our visitors at our book signing. She organized a trip to the World's Fair in Knoxville in 1982 and trips to various concerts, plays, and museums. And one particularly memorable one was to the King Tut exhibit in New Orleans. Mrs. Blount was an active member of the Chatham Garden Club and often volunteered services of visiting sons-in-laws, visiting family members, I guess, in these enterprises in the garden club. That sounds fun. Mrs. Blount was a key player in the integration of Washington County schools in the 1970s. With the order to integrate came little practical guidance on how to accomplish this huge task. It was a tense and stressful time for many people in both the educational and general communities. Mrs. Blount came up with the idea to host a dinner party at her house for some 50 to 60 teachers, administrators, both black and white, from all schools. Mrs. Blount arranged the seating so that the black and white counterparts were seated next to each other, principals with principals, elementary school teachers with elementary school teachers, so that everyone could freely chat and get to know one another. This gave educators an opportunity to share their experiences, to find ways to work together and improve education for everyone, and how to bring together our students to develop new loyalties for new schools at the 5 schools that we currently have, our public high schools. This county is, I believe, very resilient and very strong, and its history is filled with times like that where strong people in the community brought together our community and took opportunities to make this community a better place where people could live together and work together and share their experiences and find common ground and common goals, and I admire that very much about them. Mrs. Blount wrote a weekly column for the Washington County News, and they made financial donations to many groups in the county. And she worked as a substitute teacher and hosted numerous cultural events at the Scott House as well as in her own home. Mrs. Jessie and her husband Pierre were constantly looking for ways to improve our community. They believed in investing time and energy and resources into this community to make it a better place to live and to learn. And we're just so happy to be able to continue that legacy at the library. The public library, I believe, has the same mission. We want to lift up and better the lives of the people that live in our community, and be that tide that lifts all boats, no matter who a person is, what their background is, what their interests are, what their economic status is. Just being that tide that's lifting everyone in the community is an important part of their legacy, I believe, and it's an important part of the mission that we are trying to continue at the library. It's my absolute pleasure to recognize your parents, Mr. Pierre and Miss Jessie. I know when I started my work at the library, because my name is Jess and Jessica, they were like, you've got big shoes to fill. If you're going to be a Jessie in Washington County and run a library, then there's a pretty high bar set. So I've always appreciated that, and working hard to continue the work that she started. So we appreciate you guys being here. It is also my pleasure now to hand the mic over to the man who, in the middle of Hurricane Frederick, helped start my birth into the world. And he assured my mother at the time that he had delivered thousands of babies in the wilderness of Africa as a missionary, and that he had this, and everything was under control, and she had nothing to worry about. So, Dr. Petcher, I know that you wanted to say a few words about the Blount, so I will hand the microphone over to you this time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here I'm 96 years old and working toward 97 and working hard toward it. But first I need to thank the political people of Washington County. I worked with all of them from Judge Turner down, beginning then, when the museum was founded and was given to the museum group, and it was an empty room and some cases. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk a little bit about the Blount as I knew them. If you could vision going to Kiwanis Club and sitting in the round table, and here would be across the table from you, and a number of important things happened at that point. One of them was somebody kept talking about his time in the Air Force, and the airplanes in those days, if you wanted to bomb anybody, they said you had to throw a bomb over the side. But Pierre and I had a bit in common in that it's known to me and maybe to others that Pierre did research before he moved to Washington County, and he did extensive research to see a place he wanted to live that was safe, and it was growing, and it offered something for his family. And that's exactly part of what my life has been. I chose where I wanted to be, and just as the Blounts have, they made a difference for the whole county, because of their thinking of what they wanted to be and what they wanted to do. And rather than take time telling more about what all they did and all that, I would like to take a little time to tell you the most important thing for the students here is that Pierre had a planned life, and yes, he did too. It didn't just happen to them. I think they were called, the Lord called them, and they answered the call and did what needed to be done in Washington County. And for the students who are here, I assure you many times God calls people to do a specific thing and they'll never know what it is. I didn't know for many years that I was gonna I was called when I was 12 years old. It didn't end up in Africa until I was 30 years old. But it was all in the plan, and my thought is for the students particularly, follow the plan and don't give up. There's always a chance. If you look at the people who are here behind me, and as I look at you all, many of whom I've known for many years, I know that God's plan is good. For many of you, I hope you will know, I spent 7 years in Nigeria. I was called to go there. There are 2.5 million people who know the Lord from the work of this little mission group, the Church of the Brethren. Not bragging about them, but I am complaining that the Muslims, Boko Haram in Nigeria, have killed 10,000 of my people. And we have a list of their names, but it doesn't seem to make much difference. And back into the blouse. I have to tell you all that most of all you have the genes. and with the genes that you have, nothing's going to stop you. The only thing that will stop you is if you decide to give up or that things aren't good enough. And my blessing for all of you is that God will bless you, and for the students, listen well to what's around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Petcher. I know I can speak for everybody in this room that it's always a blessing to have time with you, to spend time with you and hear from you and be able to take a little bit of your wisdom with us. So we appreciate that so much. We also are certainly appreciative of all of the family members that have traveled in from Canada, Oregon, and around the country and beyond to be here today to recognize the Blauks. They were a special part of this community, and their legacy is so strong, and we're so happy to honor them today. Martha, I don't know if you'd like to come and say a word.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. I don't know that I would be up here accepting an award. I feel like the Academy Awards, this will be my one time to thank an awful lot of people. I haven't been back here in 27 years, but I certainly want to introduce some of the people that traveled. My niece, Trina, what's your last name? Goddard. Sorry. Chris Becker, Lisa Gallagher, and her 2 sons, who are the great-grandchildren, my sister Susan, and my 2 children, who are the namesakes of Jesse and Pierre Blau. And Dr. Petcher, thank you so much for coming today. And I'm going to get emotional, I know, because there's a lot of people out here that I hear stories about, and even, your story this morning about how my mother impacted Chatham. I graduated in 1975, so where are you? There you are, a little bit older than you, and I know some of my classmates are out here too, so I'd also like to let you know how this all got started for us to be here today and to accept this award. My niece, Lisa, so I'm going to give a shout out to her, posted something on Facebook about the small town and the comment about how she would spend summers here. Who was it by? Bruce Springsteen? Who's the song of the small town? But anyway,
Don't have a belly count.
yes, and that started social media started just a very small nomination process. Ashley, thank you for that. And so that's what brought us all back, because the kids remember the bookmobile. The three nieces would spend summers here in Chatham with my parents and the bookmobile, and they had incredible memories. And I wanted to bring my children back to really see the community that I grew up in. And I know probably some of you in high school think, I can't wait to get away. Well, it has just been fabulous for me to come back to see the legacy of my parents and what they, Jessica with the library. I am so impressed with what you have done to continue with all of that. Ashley, this Washington County, I know my mom was very involved with that. Also, you know, Dr. Petra again, all of the people that I'm seeing out here, it's just incredible. It really is amazing what you can do, and with all of the other nominees up here this morning, you know, what impact that you can have just starting out here. So I also wanted to acknowledge two people that some of you may recognize, but Nina Runefelt was one of my sister. She was my Swedish sister who my parents brought as an international student. So if you ever have an opportunity to host an international student, I know my parents brought a lot of international people into the community, and that legacy has continued. And our house, the Blount House, now is the Wilcox Gallery, and I heard some people say that it's still called the Blount House, but you know, that's another legacy that I think is just wonderful, an opportunity that continues. And so it has been wonderful just driving around in this small town. I live in Portland, we've come from Canada, and what else? And Washington. So I'm glad that we could come back and visit. We're gonna have some fun just walking around town tonight. I went by the house last night and listened to all of the chirping frogs and bugs. Okay, we don't have bugs or snakes where I live in Oregon. So that's one thing I can say that I don't miss. But having grown up in a small town, it was really a blessing and a legacy that I wanted to share with my children. So thank you again, everybody. The Washington County Historic Society, Ashley, Judge. Okay, thank you.